Ravage, thanks for inviting me over for movie night.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you make it.
Yeah, it took me a while. I didn't know that you lived in an underground bunker.
Yeah, this is a pretty remote location, but at least it's not HOA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Say, would you like some snacks?
Sure.
This blue one is blueberry flavored, which keeps you in the VTubing world, and nothing changes. The red one is strawberry flavored, and it'll wake you up and show you the...
Num 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 num. Oh, I love Mike and Ike's.
Well, I guess you're in the Matrix now.
Wait, where are we?
So we watched The Matrix, the first one, last night, and Em, you've never seen this movie, right?
Nope.
So so we discussed what you didn't know about it. I guess we can kind of say that here for a little bit. What didn't you know about The Matrix?
I feel like it's almost a lot easier to say what I did know, because it was so limited.
Right.
What I did know, and I remember I told this to you, I knew that there was a guy in it that looked like Mr. Bubbles from Stitch. Who had circular sunglasses, who I later found out is Morpheus. He actually has a name, it's not Mr. Bubbles. I knew about the red and blue pill meme, and that was basically, I guess, the only one. The shooting bullets and dodging meme I kind of knew about too. And yeah, it's hard to remember what I did know now that I have so many scenes and stuff in my head. But I didn't know anything about the story or the characters or anything like that, like the plot, or what the Matrix was at all. So I always got it confused with Inception. So I thought maybe it had to do with some sort of dream world, because I felt like I would hear people talk about both in the same breath. Like maybe they have similar plots or something. I still haven't seen Inception, so I don't know. But yeah, that was my extremely limited knowledge of it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I guess I knew it was an action movie too, because I had seen some Corridor Studios, Corridor Crew, that's the name of the YouTube channel. They do CGI artists react to series, and they had done ones on The Matrix, and I think maybe The Matrix 2, but I had seen a few brief scenes, I think. But that was really it.
Sounds good. Alright, so we also you wrote down way more notes for sure.
Oh yeah, I wrote down 2.5 pages. I have so much.
Oh my god. Alright, yeah, we can, I think in the meantime we could kind of go through that. So what's on your list?
My initial reaction is that I thought it was a spy movie, because everyone was wearing black, literally every character. And I was like, why are they all wearing sunglasses? This is so weird. Because it starts with the, what would you call it? An infiltration scene, or they're hunting down Trinity. And
oh yeah.
I wrote floaty powers? ? Oh, damn. Oh, that's what else I know about this movie.
Yep.
Because she, when they found her, she started running on the walls and shit. And I was like, oh my. I did note that they had really creative camera angles, which I did notice was pretty consistent throughout, but especially when she was making her escape and jumping across buildings and stuff, they had some good I think there was a scene where she jumps across this really huge gap and they turn the camera a different direction, vertically or sideways or something, so it makes the jump seem even more perilous. I was like, oh, that was really cool. And then she jumps in, breaks through a window, tumbles down the stairs, and they have a ground up perspective of her looking from the ground up to the window. So it seems like it's even further away. And like between the camera angles, the choreography, the scenes and whatnot, everything always felt like really grounded, which surprised me a lot because of how, you know, with like the Matrix and the dream world and the real world and the construct and all these things that they introduce, it's like really a limitless like thing for the characters to interact with and to change reality and morph it and stuff. So I'm really impressed with how much the movie like reined in all of the action and the combat and stuff so that it wasn't like ridiculous and extremely comedic.
Yeah.
Because I think that it would have completely changed the tone of the movie if it was. I feel like that's a really good jumping off point to talk about specifically your first impressions that you remember of watching this movie when you did, how it changed watching it now, and how my first impression of this movie was so much different because of how essentially everything that it said in the movie that it predicted in 1999 like has already come true. So
Right.
all of our experiences are very different from each other because of the times that we first watched this. So do you want to like talk about maybe if you remember any of your original feelings and how those have changed?
Yeah, I would say this was like probably one of the most revolutionary like I would definitely say this, like, not that the movie changed my life so to speak, but it was like
Yeah.
it was really cool. It was just like, oh my god, that like these concepts are like really really interesting, and I really liked how like they used at the time the real world technology to like kind of catapult into like this futuristic setting where oh my god, everything's awful, and this will like, you know, we never really thought of anything outside of our own perspective because philosophy is not a really mainstream thing. Like, I mean, come on, no one really thinks about philosophy in everyday life. So they're really like, not me. I'm a sophisticated, educated person. But you know, I think the Matrix really helped people just like think just way differently back then, because it really was just like, hey, go to work, don't think about like anything other than your rent and like, you know, supporting your family. And this is like a very fanciful take on like the like, I guess like the treadmill job basically. So it's kind of like, well, you know, what if we lived in a computer world?
Yeah, one thing that's funny is like, okay, let me see, because I wrote it down. They said that the real world existed in... Okay, they said, I wrote, it was 200 years in the future between the real world and the first world. Okay, so they must have said it was like 2100? 2200, I guess.
It was 1999 and it was 2099. That was like the time jump. So yes, 200 years. Yeah.
I do think it's funny that like I guess just thinking of like war and what happened after 1999 and all
Right.
of that, like it's both funny how like they predicted how much like violence and stuff was going to happen after this movie came out and in the future, but thankfully it hasn't gotten to the point where the humans quote unquote have scorched the sky.
Right. Oh my god.
Yeah, so I'm very thankful that we haven't reached that point yet, but it's really funny how predictive and how prophetic the movie was, and I feel like watching it, like, and I mentioned this to you, if I had watched this movie at the age I am now when it came out, I think it would have been a lot more profound for me, and like, oh my gosh, what if the internet, what if like things got that crazy, and we could like live digital lives. So like watching it now, a lot of that stuff I feel like didn't have as much impact to me. It was actually extremely ironic and funny. Like the beginning of the movie is like everyone essentially is bashing Neo because he spends too much time on his computer. Literally, like, the Trinity comes up to him at the club or whatever, and she's like, I know what you do, Neo. I've been watching you. You go to work, you do your job, you come home, you try to sleep, and then you just spend all night on your computer. And then there's like a point where, so they like have a rendezvous point, and Neo is going to like, he's like thinking about leaving and not going with them on their mission. And Trinity's like, you know that road, you can go back on it, but you know what lies at the end. And I'm like, is she saying that he's gonna just like live a miserable life because he likes to be on his computer too much? Like, this is a big yikes.
It's like, you know, spending too much time on that computer doesn't give you a lot of vitamin D.
Yeah, it was very funny. And like, I didn't know when this movie had come out, but when we were watching it, I was like, this is giving me some of that like Y2K like energy. Like I have a feeling this is a very Y2K, and you're like, it did come out in 99. I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All of the like hysteria and the fear surrounding technology and what it could create. It's really crazy that we can like create genuine like connectedness through like manufactured or artificial like sensations.
Oh my god, yeah. I think it's cool, but I you know,
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like how people you know, whenever people say like, oh, the internet does these bad things, there's always people that have a rebuttal of like, but the internet has let me meet people across the world, and we can talk now instead of sending like a letter to each other, being pen pals.
Right.
We can just send a message and it's instantly there.
That's how I met like some of my friends. Some of my best friends were like 10 plus years at least.
Mm.
Oh my god. I lost many good friends from Y2K. The world ended at midnight. Yep.
I was too young to remember that midnight.
I remember some of my friends pulled like their parents pulled like a prank on them, where they would just go to the power box, and at midnight they would just like turn it off. And
oh my god!
And then like freaked them all out, and then he like turned it back on. He's like, happy Y2K.
Yeah, that was a time before me. Like, I knew about some things because I have older siblings, but I started using like the internet, I'd say fairly, like, well, I guess the more that like the internet and technology got developed, the earlier people started using it. Like, you know, like kids can have cell phones when they're like fucking less than 10 years old now.
Yeah.
I don't think I had my first cell phone until I was like 14 or older. And even then it was like a very, very simple flip phone. And then eventually a slide phone, and then a screen phone. But like my first experiences with using the internet weren't until I was at least probably like 13. I think it was with Webkins actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Y2K is the year 2000. That it is like literally just that acronym, because
wasn't it essentially like the hysteria around like people thought that the computer systems that were developed at the time wouldn't be able to handle like the turn of the year from going from 1900s to 2000.
Yeah, basically, like, so because the actual like Y2K is literally just year 2000, right? But because we needed an acronym to kind of like package it in a more media friendly sense, it was just like kind of like a thing that became synonymous with like, oh, it's a bug, or it could be a bug, or it could be the end of the world, versus like, no, it just means year 2000. Like this, like people who actually knew computers were like, nothing's gonna happen. Like like the banks are not gonna shut down. Like planes aren't gonna crash out of the sky. It's like, it's fine. It literally just means like the year 2000. And people were like, but the 00, the computers wouldn't know. It'll mess up. and they were like, oh my god, no. And,
Like, what do you think binary code is?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, if a 2 showed up, maybe we would be like,
Yeah,
oh,
that
fuck
might,
that. Yeah, so...
send some things into disarray.
Oh my god, yeah, so basically, the people who knew about computers, which was, at the time, very, very small percentage, just, like, couldn't convince anyone otherwise. So, everyone was... They were just like, okay, well, everyone's gonna be fine, so, whatever. And then we were all, like... We were watching the ball drop, you know, on New Year's Eve, and like, it happened, and literally nothing happened, and life moved on.
I mean, I bet the anticipation that it might happen was pretty exciting, at least, but also probably terrifying for some people.
Oh my god, yeah.
The 2012 prophecy, oh yeah. And then it became the 2013 prophecy, and then the 2014.
Oh, they made a movie. They made a movie.
They got the numbers flipped around. It's 2021.
Oh no, bro.
I mean, I guess they weren't too wrong with like COVID being in 2020, but.
Oh my god, the doomsday predictions are pretty funny. They're just kind of like, yeah, the rapture, yeah. Because the Internet Historian made like a whole video about it with like this like nutcase pastor. And like he did this whole like rapture thing, and people who bought into it like just like went into debt because they're like, I'm gonna spend all my money because this war's gonna end anyway. And then it was just like, oh. So when it didn't happen, it was like, oh, this man like destroyed lives, and that was like pretty fucked up. And so I think now
it still happens.
It still happens now, but I feel like it is not as bad anymore because we had the experience of people unfortunately getting taken advantage of and realizing the world was going to end and not happening. I think now we're kind of like jaded, right? Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you're not gonna. It's like, well, and you fool me like 3 or 4 more times. Okay, I think we're on the 5th to 7th time. I think it's not going to happen.
There also just gets to be a point where people are like, the world's going to end, and you're like, meh.
You're just like,
if it does, why will mess?
Yeah, it doesn't even matter. It's like,
hopefully I won't notice. Hopefully it'll just I'll just fade into oblivion.
Yeah, because we have like the doomer comedy, which is like, it's like I want to die. It's like mood.
Fucking sweet.
Sweet. Release me from this mortal coil.
How did you feel about the romance in the movie?
The romance. Yeah, it happened, I guess. It was like...
That was a part of it.
Yeah, it was a part of it. I like can't hate it, because it's like, sure, very, very, heteronormative and whatever.
It was like shoehorned in, but it was very accurate for like what every movie was doing at the time.
Yeah, but I mean, but at the same time, it's like fine, right? They kind of like gave good motivations for the, I guess, the story. Yeah,
in
like,
more than one way.
Cause like you know, it was set up that she was guarded, right? You can tell that she had some sort of like a connection to him, even she's not telling the audience. And then like little breadcrumbs are dropped here and there, and then every time he asks, Trinity's like, "What did the Oracle tell you?" And she like just kind of awkwardly smiles at him. Maybe Trinity like was doing something else, and she got some other outcome that has nothing to do with me, and that's why the Oracle was like, "You're cute. You're also very dumb."
Yeah. It is it's very convenient but good that Trinity was able to bring Neo back, because I don't know how else they would have. I was kind of amazed that they did have him die. I'm guessing it was mainly just for a suspense thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. It was like the climax of the movie.
Like, kind of broke the laws of their universe a little bit.
Yeah, it was fine, right? Like I think a lot of people were just like weirded out by like Neo became God basically, and it was like, I'm like, it's fine. Like, this is what the movie was leading up to, right? It made sense, but I guess it's like kind of when the magician reveals their tricks, you're just kind of like, well, that's kind of odd. You just like kind of look at them weirdly.
I was thinking about how convenient and funny it would be if like Neo was just a complete narcissist.
Oh my
Because
god.
like he wouldn't need any convincing that he's the one.
Yeah.
I think it's funny if they're like, you're the one, and then they find out he's an asshole, and he's like, you're right, I can do anything I want.
Yeah, I'm glad they made Neo very likable, which was...
Yeah, they made him more sympathetic, where he's just like, no, I'm not the one. And it's like, you could believe it, and that he became the one because of other people's belief in him a little bit more than just his own belief in himself.
Yeah, I like I guess like the turning point, right, where it's like the hero is at his lowest point where he has to make the decision to save Morpheus or save himself, and he's just like, I'm just some guy, Trinity, and she's like, no, that's not right, and he's like, yeah, all right, let's go get Morpheus.
Yeah, he's like, I am some guy, but I'm gonna tell myself in my head I am the one because I obviously need that to succeed.
Yeah, like I kind of liked how it wasn't super it was at the point where when Morpheus was like, he's starting to believe, and I'm like, I mean, I guess.
I did wonder about like the shrimp bug where they're like, you've been bugged. They
You've
kind
been
of like never brought that up again either. I was like, what is, wait.
You've been shrimped.
I'm like, why doesn't the agent just infect him though?
Yeah, it was yeah, because the future movies kind of like backtrack on some stuff, but for this part of the movie, they used like the little bug shrimpy thing, that body horrors into him.
Which, might I say, is kind of graphic. I had to look away. I was like, oh. Oh my. Oh.
Oh no.
What the fuck?
The CGI shrimp. Yeah, it's a little. It's got the.
That was a long scene. Oh, it was just a dream. Or was it? I don't want to just go into his belly button.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, that's body horror. Ooh. And so I feel like that was used to its effect. It did its job, and it did it very well, and it was like, oh, so they're, these agents, they're sort of otherworldly. They have all this like the weird technology, and
it's definitely made it a lot more interesting, because I was like, what the hell? That took me extremely off guard, I remember.
Yeah, you were just like, oh, especially when his mouth closed, and you're just like, what the?
Yeah, I was like, whoa! I was like, I thought that was like their threat, that they were gonna like curb stomp him or put coals in his throat, not that they were just gonna like physically seal his mouth somehow. What? Oh my god!
Oh my god!
What the fuck? I thought that was like a threat because they were gonna curb stomp him.
Yeah, that was that was like a really awesome point where it was like, you don't know what you got into with this movie.
Yeah,
like still, right? Like still, like, because in the beginning it was like, wow, Trinity did a weird crane kick in midair and floated. That's strange.
Yeah.
She like ran into a phone booth. That's strange. Normal. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to Neo? Like, what's going on? Like, so that's like really cool. Like the setup.
Because the first part especially, you could just assume that it's some sort of stylistic choice at the discretion of like the director, the choreography, or anything like that. Because there were always action movies, and still are, that like have that kind of over the top combat where it's like slowed down, or they're running on walls and stuff like that. So you could just be like, oh, it's just, that's how combat is going to be in this movie, and you can kind of not lend it to anything further than that.
Yeah.
So you can almost write it off. But
yeah.
Then the shrimp comes out, and you're like,
oh no, the evil shrimp. So yeah, what do you think about the leather fashion? Because I remember you were just like, why does everyone wear this stuff?
It was mainly the sunglasses that were weird to me.
Oh really?
Like, I did notice, I think that the leather was fine, and like Actually, probably a good decision because you could very clearly tell the difference between the real world and the dream world. Because it was all very like high fashion, leather. Everyone's wearing black in the dream world, and then in the real weather, it was like natural fibers. I noticed every single person had like tatters on their shirts, and like they're all very dull colored. But yeah, like the sunglasses were very weird to me. I was like, I understand like the clothes more or less. It's like easy. They can identify each other. Why not wear cool clothes while you're in this world? There's like some protection it offers. But the sunglasses, like, it was just, I keep thinking like, I wear my sunglasses. Like they were always wearing them in really like strange scenes and scenarios.
Wait, you
It was
didn't
a
think
little
they
bit weird.
you didn't think they looked super cool? You didn't want to wear sunglasses yourself? You didn't want to be like, hey, check me out, my cool sunglasses I wear inside buildings.
I guess it was pretty cool. It's kind of funny because I know what happened at the beginning of the movie, and it was very strange to me. Where the agents get Neo while he's like working his day job at the office, when he chooses not to jump off this building. Which, like, damn, I don't know why Morpheus just expected he'd be able to do that one.
Right.
He's like, you're the one, it's fine, you just gotta believe it. He didn't even tell him he had to believe it at that time, which is why it was so surprising. But anyways, the agents got Neo and were leading him out to the car, which is like all black tinted windows, seemed like very government agent sort of vehicle. And Trinity was literally just sitting in front of them on her motorcycle in all black with her shades. And I was like, how did they not recognize her? There was like, I don't think there was even a car between them and her.
It's like,
And you're like, well, she's facing the other way.
yeah.
I guess so. I was like, I thought she was like a high profile miss. I hacked the IRS database. Like, like we got our guy. No need to worry about her. I don't know. Seems like the better option.
Oh man, the authorities got me.
They didn't recognize her.
She was wearing she was wearing black and everything.
Was that not the same group of guys that tried to find her?
She was positioned in a way they couldn't recognize her.
Oh yes, the back of her head, the best disguise.
She's a regular citizen.
Yeah, she stuck out like a sore thumb. I mean, not compared to the agents, but compared to everyone. It was like office, middle of the work day.
Yeah.
It was like, that's a bit weird.
And broad daylight.
Yeah, so I was like, huh, interesting. I guess I'll give them a pass, but that definitely stood out to me.
Oh my
That was
god.
funny. There was a scene that I appreciated that I wrote a note about, and it was when Morpheus and Neo were in the construct, and like the lady in the red dress walked by, which was an interesting motif. I don't think they really talked about her too much in like detail. But I noticed that when Neo was walking down like the busy street, he was constantly like avoiding people and knocking shoulders with them. And Morpheus was just walking through everyone.
Yeah,
and
he was
I
like,
thought that was just like a really cool visual touch that they added.
he was like effortlessly gliding past them.
Yeah, just like he was phasing through them, I'm pretty sure. Which is a really cool visual effect that they did, honestly. I kind of wonder how they did that. But it was just cool, because like it conveyed tonally like the difference between Morpheus and Neo too, and how Morpheus was like so much more experienced with this. And he was like actively proving that if you believe something, it can be true. And Neo was very much still like confined by the reality that he knew to exist.
Yeah.
Like unable to break from it.
You see businessmen, teachers.
Oh, they're all phasing through Morpheus, aren't they?
Were you listening to me,
Interesting.
Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress?
I was.
Look again. Freeze it.
What? So I guess he conjured that to make him look at her.
That's another meme.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I liked
So-
that that was just kind of like the slow incremental like the training montage, so to speak. It was just
Yeah.
like it's very incremental. So it's just like you need to believe or it's not like you need to believe you could do anything. It's just like the the rules of your current reality like can be bent, and you just need to like kind of like mentally exercise that you're able to do that. You can't just be like, well, this wall is a wall and therefore I can't like mess with it. And it's like kind of like how in video games where sometimes you're just like, well, this is a wall, I clearly can't pass through it. But like if there's like a part in the level where it's like you're not supposed to go, therefore like the devs don't like program it to have collision, and you can just like somehow like walk through it. It's kind of like that where you're just like, visually as a person, I know that's like a wall and I can't pass through it. But like in like the coding world of the video game, it's like, no, it's not there. It's just like it just looks like it's there, right? And a lot of people like they have some video game I wouldn't say like direct video game references, but that's like how we can think of it. It's just like the Matrix is just one big video game, and they made a video game of it anyway. And then it's just kind of like, oh, I can just no clip through stuff.
Yeah, I really like how they kind of showed that regardless of like the crew and like even Morpheus knowing that they can just believe something and it will be true, there's still like a lot of moments of like vulnerability where like Morpheus had mentioned, he like turned to Neo and he was like, everyone that's ever fought an agent has died or like been shot at by an agent, and they kind of don't explain that, but I was like, that's interesting, I wonder why. And at first I took it as like, oh, but you're the one, so that won't happen because the others just didn't have this special ability. But then it came to when the crew was being like ambushed, and I think it was like the youngest member, I don't remember his name.
Oh yeah, Mouse.
Mouse, yeah, he had like turned to fight some of the agents and got shot a bunch of times and just like straight up died because he was convinced enough that from that he would have died. And the same happens to Neo later in the movie. So I think that's interesting that like just them knowing that didn't mean that they weren't human and that they couldn't believe that they had died or were going to die. Well, after that, I think my mind is opened, and I can see the world in a whole new perspective.
Oh, that's just the aspartame giving you a sugar high.
That explains my jitters. Do you have any real food, though? You are living in an underground bunker.
Unfortunately, I have not made the order of tactical bacon on Amazon yet, but I do have something for the time being.
Anything sounds good for now.
More Matrix pills!
What?